Transforming loneliness. Home is a place where loneliness disappears, but where is home? In us is the island of self, where we feel warm, comfortable, etc. And this is a practice. Breathing in and out, I am aware of my feeling of loneliness, etc., and I smile to the feeling of loneliness, saying, "My dear loneliness, I know you are there, and I am home to take care of you, and you make peace with your loneliness." How can you connect with another if you cannot connect with yourself? Going inside, connecting with our in and out breath, we connect with our feelings, etc., and say, "I am here, I smile to you." Be home for yourself. If you can do this, you can help another person because they are looking for home too. And when they are home through you at first, after that, they have built their own home. Then your relationship has become a real relationship because it has a quality of truth, presence, compassion, and oneness of it all. Take refuge in formations and realize all things rely on each other. There will always be someone bearing fruit to your actions. You are. Beyond the forms, you're just talking to yourself, just as I am talking to myself now. We're the same awareness. You're just in that body, and I'm in this one. In a world where there are no eyes, the sun would not be light. In a world where there were no soft skins, rocks would not be hard. Nor in a world where there were no muscles would they be heavy. Existence is relationship, and you're smack in the middle of it. Alan Watts. If you couldn't possibly be lonely, because where could you go? Do you think if I go in my bathroom and lock the door I can be lonely? I can't be. It's always one thought away, the living spirit, the community of our consciousness. The guru inside is always one thought away. Ram Dass. Loneliness brings a sense of compassion automatically, which can come from an understanding of no ego and emptiness. All things are empty. So you could say, loneliness is love. Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche. When you identify as the other person's awareness, there is no one to fall in love to. There's just love loving itself, and that, to me, is what the game's all about. Usually we regard loneliness as an enemy. Heartache is not something we choose to invite in. It's restless and pregnant and hot with a desire to escape and find something or someone to keep us company. When we can rest in the middle, we begin to have a non-threatening relationship with loneliness. A relaxing and cooling loneliness that completely turns our usual fear patterns upside down. There are 6 ways of describing this kind of cool loneliness. They are less desire, contentment, avoiding unnecessary activity, complete discipline, not wandering in the world of desire, and not seeking security from one's discursive thoughts. Number 1. Less desire is the willingness to be lonely without resolution when everything in us yearns for something to cheer us up and change our mood. Practicing this kind of loneliness is a way of sowing seeds so that fundamental restlessness decreases. In meditation, for example, every time we label thinking, instead of getting endlessly run around by our thoughts, we are training in just being here without dissociation. We can't do that now to the degree that we weren't willing to do it yesterday or the day before or last week or last year. After we practice less desire wholeheartedly and consistently, something shifts. We feel less desire in the sense of being less solidly seduced by our very important storylines. So even if the hot loneliness is there, and for 1.6 seconds we sit with that restlessness when yesterday we couldn't sit for even one. That's the journey of the warrior. That's the path of bravery. The less we spin off and go crazy, the more we taste the satisfaction of cool loneliness. As the Zen master Katagiri Yoshi often said, one can be lonely and not be tossed away by it. The second kind of loneliness is contentment. When we have nothing to lose. We don't have anything to lose, but being programmed in our guts to feel we have a lot to lose. Our feeling that we have a lot to lose is rooted in fear of loneliness, of change, of anything that can't be resolved, of non-existence. The hope that we can avoid this feeling and the fear that we can't become our reference point. When we draw a line down the center of a page, we know who we are if we're on the right side and who we are if we're on the left side. But we don't know who we are when we don't put ourselves on either side. Then we just don't know what to do. We just don't know. We have no reference point, no hand to hold. At that point, we can either freak out or settle in. Contentment is a synonym for loneliness, cool loneliness, settling down with cool loneliness. We give up believing that being able to escape our loneliness is going to bring any lasting happiness or joy or sense of well-being or courage or strength. Usually we have to give up this belief about 1,000,000,000 times again and again, making friends with our jumpiness and dread, doing the same old thing 1,000,000,000 times with awareness. Then, without our even noticing, something begins to shift. We can just be lonely with no alternatives, content to be right here with the mood and texture of what's happening. The third kind of loneliness is avoiding unnecessary activities. When we're lonely in a hot way, we look for something to save us. We look for a way out. We get this squeezy feeling that we call loneliness, and our minds just go wild, trying to come up with companions to save us from despair. That's called unnecessary activity. It's a way of keeping ourselves busy so we don't have to feel any pain. It could take the form of obsessively daydreaming of true romance, or turning a tidbit of gossip into the 6 o'clock news, or even going off by ourselves into the wilderness. The point is that in all these activities we are seeking companionship in our usual habitual way, using our same old repetitive ways of distancing ourselves from the demon of loneliness. Could we just settle down and have some compassion and respect for ourselves? Could we stop trying to escape from being alone with ourselves? What about practicing not jumping and grabbing when we begin to panic? Relaxing with loneliness is a worthy occupation. As the Japanese poet Yokan says, if you want to find the meaning, stop chasing after so many things. Complete discipline is another component of cool loneliness. Complete discipline means that at every opportunity we're willing to come back, just gently come back to the present moment. This is loneliness as complete discipline. We're willing to sit still, just be there alone. We don't particularly have to cultivate this kind of loneliness. We could just sit still long enough to realize how things really are. We are fundamentally alone, and there is nothing anywhere to hold on to. Moreover, this is not a problem. In fact, it allows us to finally discover a completely unfabricated state of being. Our habitual assumptions, all our ideas about how things are, keep us from seeing anything in a fresh, open way. We say, oh yes, I know, but we don't know. We don't ultimately know anything. There's no certainty about anything. This basic truth hurts, and we want to run away from it, but coming back and relaxing with something as familiar as loneliness is good discipline for realizing the profundity of the unresolved moments of our lives. We are cheating ourselves when we run away from the ambiguity of loneliness. Not wandering in the world of desire. Not wandering in the world of desire is another way of describing cool loneliness. Wandering in the world of desire involves looking for alternatives, seeking something to comfort us, food, drink, or people. The word desire encompasses the addiction quality that we grab for something because we want to find a way to make things okay. That quality comes from never having grown up. We still want to go home and be able to open the refrigerator and find it full of our favorite goodies. When the going gets tough, we want to yell Mom. But what we're doing as we progress along the path is leaving home and becoming homeless. Not wandering into the world of desire is about relating directly with how things are. Loneliness is not a problem. Loneliness is nothing to be solved. The same is true for another experience you might have. Not seeking security from one's discursive thoughts. Another aspect of cool loneliness is not seeking security from one's thoughts. The rug's been pulled, the jig is up, and there's no way to get out of this one. We don't even seek the companionship of our own constant conversation with ourselves about how it is and how it isn't, whether it is or whether it isn't, whether it should or whether it shouldn't be, whether it can or can't be. With cool loneliness, we do not expect security from our own internal chatter. That's why we are instructed in meditation to label it thinking. Thinking. It has no objective reality. It is transparent and ungraspable. We're encouraged to just touch that chatter and let it go, not to make much ado about nothing. Cool loneliness allows us to look honestly and without aggression at our own minds. We can gradually drop our ideals of who we think we ought to be and who we think we want to be, or who we think other people think we want to be or ought to be. We give it up and just look directly with compassion and humor at who we are. Then loneliness is no threat and heartache, no punishment. We can gradually drop our ideals of who we think we ought to be, or who we think we want to be, or who we think other people think we want to be or ought to be. Cool loneliness doesn't provide any resolution or give us ground under our feet. It challenges us to step into a world of no reference point without polarization or solidifying. This is called the middle way, or the sacred path of the warrior. When you wake up in the morning and out of nowhere comes the heartache of alienation and loneliness, could you use that as a golden opportunity, rather than persecuting yourself for feeling that something terribly wrong is happening? Right there in the moment of sadness and longing, could you relax and touch the limitless space of the human heart? The next time you get a chance, experiment with this. Much love. Ram Ram. Meditate, breathe on all this, as I will do with you. Here we are. I am nobly, and so are you. Thus there's nothing to hold on to. I love you.